Many people have asked me why I have decided to become an Interfaith Franciscan. Interestingly, you would have thought, having been a Catholic nursing monk for 8 years back in the 60s and 70s, and having been well and truly initiated into the old rite, pre-Vatican II rite of Catholic training, where there was a lot of fear, a lot of negativity, one would hesitate to embrace an interfaith community. Back in 2007, having taken a group on retreat to Egypt, I returned with a virus. And that virus affected my spine, but I sense now that God had a plan. And though the interim 5 months were quite painful with spinal stretching, it allowed me reflect on what my heart was saying. Because in my head there was this great fear that God wanted me to return to the Catholic Church and relive what I can only describe to you as a nightmare. It was worse than being a prisoner in a prison, because there was so little love, and yet we were trained to love God, and yet the God I came to know wasn't, for me, a God of love. I found it very difficult to pray. I found it really challenging to be myself, because in my training we weren't allowed to be ourselves. In truth, we were a number, a thing, an object. But the God I've come to know now isn't a God of fear, he's a God of love. She is a God of love, because I'm aware that from 2007, when my heart was telling me, and had been telling me since 1975, when I left the monastery and the Catholic Church, because I felt so angry, so disillusioned and let down by the internal politicking. And I felt a bereavement in my heart. On a personal level, I really felt ashamed that I had let my God down, even though that God wasn't in truth a God of love. I felt was a God of fear. So in 2007, all those years on, I came to realize that God didn't want me to go back into that loveless environment. God really wanted me to honor my heart. And my heart guided me to become the founding member of the Teo community of St. Francis. That was to embrace a simple life from my own home, my monastery without walls, and establish my own rule of life, a simpler rule to the rule I had many years ago. And being an Interfaith Franciscan is such a blessing, because we embrace all faiths. We embrace the one God of all, who is the Father, Mother God of all faiths, all beliefs, though that God is given many different names, but yet it is the one true God. So here, in my monastery without walls, I'm free. In fact, I'm freer now than I've ever been, because the promises I made were promises I already had in here, in my heart. And the training was a training based on life's experiences of differentiating right from wrong. But being who I am today is just living a simple life as a Catholic Christian, following in the footsteps of the barefoot Galilean, not the Christian Jesus, because I see that as a Jesus who was embroiled in dogma, but not himself, but the church who represented him. Whereas now I have a love affair with the Jewish man known as the Barefoot Galilean. But the spirituality that really excites me is that of Francis, because he embraced God through the natural world, the Franciscan soul. He embraced God through nature, through the elements, and all became a prayer, a living prayer of praise. So being an Interfaith Franciscan is not about setting rules and regulations that are going to choke me as they did when I was a young monastic monk, nursing monk in the Catholic Church. Rather, it's a journey of love. And it's not about what I have to give up. The emphasis is more on about opening my heart more to receive. And yes, I made several promises because it was right for my heart to do that. The promise of poverty isn't about doing without. In fact, it's about embracing abundance. It's about living in the world but not being of it. It's about not allowing the desire for material possessions to overcrowd your space and preoccupy your mind and colour your judgment, leaving you feeling resentful, envious or greedy. And the vow of celibacy is not about doing without sex. It's about entering a new partnership with God by offering God freely your heart, by giving God all that you are. And the vow of obedience is about more to do with honouring what your heart is telling you to do, not about following the letter of the law, which most of us do. It's about allowing yourself be set free. The vow of universal citizenship is an important promise because as a child of God, I am connected to my brothers and sisters around the world. And when they're hurting, I'm hurting at soul level. The vow of providence, I would say, is the greatest of the vows that I made here on the 8th of December 2009, when I took that vow for life and the vow of enclosure. And the vow of providence is a vow that allows your heart to be set free because you trust in the Father, Mother, God to meet your needs. And again, it's about taking God at His word, that if you are willing to surrender your heart, then you engage in a relationship of love that's founded on trust. It's about surrendering your worries, your fears and your concerns and being who you are. And more importantly, it's about being human, not full of religion. It's about embracing the Spirit of God. It's about allowing God to be a part of your journey in your availability and vulnerability. And it's about being able to sing from your heart without the constraints of ancient traditions that are more focused on keeping the letter of the law. So I endorse being a lay monastic in the modern world because it's not about servility, it's about freedom. It's about freedom and joy which allows you sing within your soul and dance the sacred dance with Brother Sun and Sister Moon. And more importantly, it's about the Spirit of God coming upon you and setting you free to enjoy the gifts that we have been given as a co-creator of God. The peace of God be with you.